I wonder what I should watch today on YouTube. What do I even like on YouTube? Ralphthemoviemaker, obviously. Great guy, has a lot of great thoughts on film, and generally knows what he's talking about. I haven't watched him in about a month. I wonder what he's doing. What's he been up to? So yeah, let me quickly search for him. I don't really know what Ralph is talking about. Okay, so time to actually start this video for real now. Essentially, about, I don't know, beginning of this year, 2 weeks ago roughly nearly, Ralph decided to make a video about the Joker. For people who don't know who Ralph the Movie Maker is, it's a YouTube channel led by a guy called Ralph Seppi. He, as far as I know, it's a one-man show. He does all the editing, all, the stuff for the video. And they're generally very funny, very entertaining, and I would recommend all of them to you guys. I would recommend you go out of your way to watch his videos. However, I have to admit, his Joker review fell flat for me, specifically on two very important points. And I want to talk about these 2 points. This isn't really a big one, but it's important for me to note he does a scene comparison, and once you do a scene comparison, in my opinion, it's important to add context to a scene, essentially describing what the scene is and what the scenes are about. So you have to say how the scene is in like this movie and how it is in that movie. Ralph ignores this. Essentially, the scenes Ralph compares are these. King of Comedy's confrontation scene between Rupert and Langford, and Joker's confrontation scene between Arthur Fleck and Thomas Wayne. Now, to get the essence of this, both scenes do have a lot of stuff you can compare to each other. They're both confrontation scenes. It's not that difficult to compare them, really. You're like, this guy's confronting this guy and this guy's confronting that guy. How are they different? Well, that's why I'm here, to explain the difference. In Joker, Arthur breaks into the cinema, or like infiltrates, it would be the better word. He just goes in to the cinema and gets like the outfit and all that stuff, and then he goes to the toilet to then confront Thomas Wayne, who has just went to go to the toilet. And Thomas Wayne is laughing at his accusations. Essentially, Arthur is just saying, "You're my dad." So you are. And that's a rough accusation to take in my opinion at least. If someone told me, "Hey, you're my dad," I'd be like, "Wait, when did this happen?" Yeah, I would be confused. But the tone of this scene changes, so it does, in a way, because as soon as Arthur, like, reveals to him, like, I think he even says before he reveals the fact, like, he's his son, he reveals the fact, like, "Hey, my mom, she told me, like, you're my dad." And Thomas Wayne obviously isn't taking any crap from Arthur. He goes straight into like, "Your mom's crazy. You're also the guy who assaulted my butler, and you put your cigarette like smelling fingers in my son's mouth. And I don't know what kind of person you are or what you are capable of. So stay the hell away from me, my family, and my butler." And yeah, Arthur, of course, has his laughing condition where he can't stop laughing, which is actually a real condition, and it's not nice to make fun of people with that condition. It looks horrible. Not the point. The point is, he gets punched in the face by Thomas Wayne, and I get why Thomas Wayne would punch him. Before I explain why I think I know why Thomas Wayne would punch him, I want to point out what Ralph's problem is with this scene. He says it's unrealistic.
Thomas Wayne, Bruce Wayne's father, who's just a cartoonish dickhead, punches Joker in the face. Jerry Langford was way more realistic in how he dealt with Rupert.
Jerry, I'm a little short on cash, but if you don't mind just appetizers, I'd love to take you to dinner sometime.
Well, I got some people waiting for me. I really don't know what my schedule is.
Okay.
Maybe we can.
Okay. Take it. Go ahead. Take it. Consider it a gift. It'll work for you.
I will.
Not that you need the help. Jerry, seriously, you ever want lunch? My treat.
Call my office.
Okay. Jerry, you're a prince.
Yeah, I would physically assault some poor man because he talked to my son through an iron gate.
As you saw, I kept the clip going so you guys could hear what I said about King of Comedy. It was a lot more subtle. This is something I hear Ralph the Movie Maker throw out a lot. He loves movies which rely on subtlety, let the audience think harder, so people can come to their own conclusions, if you will. This is all well and fine. If you prefer movies which are more subtle and that's more your thing, then great. And that's something I'm also into. I like movies which are more subtle, but I also don't mind movies which are just out there. However, that's pretty much what I just showed you guys. It's essentially the whole scene comparison which I've just been talking about. And this is a thing though. In King of Comedy, this happens at the very beginning of the movie. I know like that might not sound like much, but for me it's kind of a big deal. In King of Comedy, this is Rupert and Langford's first meeting of many more they will have in the movie. And this meeting essentially isn't really a meeting, but more of a Rupert trying to get advice from Langford. In my opinion, this confrontation scene in the King of Comedy essentially just describes the dynamic between a crazy fan at meeting his or her celebrity, and in this case Langford handles it with a lot of grace. He's trying to end this conversation without being too mean to Rupert, considering Rupert's feelings, seeing as he doesn't really know the guy. And this is how you would act if you don't know someone. In the case of Joker, however, Thomas Wayne is fully aware of kind of who Arthur is as a person, knowing his mother and what he did to Alfred and how he acted around his son. And already there, you can instantly see a difference. One guy has no idea who the other is. The other is aware of who this person is. Langford also, throughout this scene, just wants the conversation to end. Of course, Rupert doesn't want this, and that's all well and fine, but I have to side with Langford here, because, dude, don't bother a guy who clearly doesn't want to be bothered. But as we come to know throughout the movie, Rupert ain't all good in the head either, like Arthur. Just, he's more stable, I would say. The conversation goes from Rupert kind of getting the paparazzi away from Langford into Langford's car. I think I described that wrong. Basically, Rupert gets in the car with Langford and they drive off, then it goes outside. And I think the location is important to mention here. One takes place in a toilet, which is empty, and the other takes place in the open public. As you people are probably aware, if you're famous to any degree, doing something bad in public gets you backlash and cause a reaction. And even though you're like famous and whatever, people will hold that against you for as long as you live. In the case of Joker again, this isn't an empty toilet. Thomas Wayne can get away with this punch. Plus, he's richer than any celebrity alive in the verse of, DC, where Bruce Wayne is the richest man alive, essentially. If not him, it's Lex Luthor. But that's not the point. The point is Langford is in the public. He's a talk show host. Talk show hosts are supposed to speak to the public. The public's supposed to be like, oh, okay, cool. I like this guy. He feels like he talks and speaks to me. And if the public found out he punched a guy in the face, I don't think he would have his credibility anymore. Another important thing to note is as well what that confrontation scene did. In the case of Joker, it got Arthur to want to figure out more about his mother. He was is she actually psychotic? Because Thomas Wayne says, I'm adopted. Am I actually adopted? Is this person I've believed to be my mom actually my mom? And in the case of King of Comedy, Langford just likes one of Rupert's jokes. That's it. It could be argued Langford doesn't actually find the joke funny, but it does inspire Rupert, and that's where Rupert goes on his harassing his staff's stuff. So this finding one of his jokes funny, this chance meeting in general, is really the instigator for the whole movie of King of Comedy, whereas in the case of Joker, this was a scene which was built up. We got glimpses of Thomas Wayne. We got to know who Thomas Wayne kind of was. He's not doing well with the lower class and the working class. However, he is really powerful and rich. Whereas in the sense of King of Comedy, this is the beginning of the movie. So as any good beginning of the movie should do, it's supposed to capture your interest, and also what's also important, set off an event. Most movies start with something happening to a character or something takes place which instigates the following stuff which happens in the rest of the whole movie. So yeah, now we're going to point 2.
I love movies. I love going to the movies. So I'm sitting down in the theater, I'm watching a Joker movie, and I enjoyed it. I was enjoying it because I'm sitting down in a movie theater watching a movie. But there's more to a film than your initial impression of a film than when you see it. There is so much more going on in a film. Like when you watch Citizen Kane for the first time. If you're a moron, you go, that's boring. That's a boring movie. Without actually reading about Citizen Kane and why it's a groundbreaking film and its impact on cinema. And the same thing with 2001, the same thing with any other film that you can list that people say are boring. Meanwhile, they think Joker's a great movie because they sit down in the theater and they watch it once and they go, wow, that was a good movie. And they don't think about it at all. When you actually take a second to think about the film you just watched, it's a completely unoriginal, bland superhero movie.
This is something I can't actually forgive Ralph for saying. It's an atrocious thing to say, in my opinion. Something I don't think you should ever say. I personally believe if you don't like a movie, that's it. Not everyone on this planet is a movie expert or really wants to dig deep in a movie. If you're asking me, I think if I know what a movie was trying to go for, and I feel like it accomplished that goal, I'm generally very satisfied with what I got. and normally like the movie I watch. Unless it's like trying too hard, then I'm like maybe gonna step back. And if it completely misses the mark, I'm just not a fan. However, if someone says they don't like Citizen Kane, they're not a moron. They just didn't like Citizen Kane. No, yeah, he says boring, but boring just is just another way of saying the movie was bad. And if you're a moron and you think Citizen Kane is bad, that's also fine. But if you're not a moron, you have I don't know, some university degree, a PhD, you're a doctor, and you watch Citizen Kane, and you're like, that was boring. There was no surgeries in there. Guess what? That's fine. I think the reason this bothered me was it was the statement after that. It was more, he was like, if you read about it and you find out what made Citizen Kane so groundbreaking, that's when he loses me. Because I shouldn't have to read about why Citizen Kane is such a great movie in order to enjoy Citizen Kane. I should just be able to watch Citizen Kane and be like, that was one of the best movies ever, or I didn't enjoy that. How? I might even think, I've seen better, or I wouldn't watch again, but I might recommend someone who might enjoy it. For me, that's the beauty of movies. Everyone who sees a movie might have a different opinion on it, and it's fun, in my opinion, to discuss these differences. Just because you have like a higher taste doesn't mean someone with a lower taste whose view on a film is less than yours. It just means you like artsy movies. The other person is more into action-packed movies. That's really that. Because how can you say that? I don't get it. He's like, yeah, the people who like Joker are the same people who find 2001: A Space Odyssey boring. They find Citizen Kane boring. They find Solaris boring. That one Mick Jagger movie which he shows, which I have not seen yet, and Eraserhead, which is one of my all-time favorite movies, which I do think is better than Joker. But that's just me. And guess what? It's fine! So yeah, I'm going to go to bed now. Probably, I don't know what I'm going to be doing after this. Or, I don't know, play Persona 5. Yeah, I haven't really thought about this evening. I just decided to record this video. Yeah, so goodbye, leave a like, and also, very important, subscribe and push the notifications on.